from all we hear, but these two, I'm not so sure that wasn't just a tip to the Senate going, if you got good reasons to not take those two, we understand.
And yet it came 2 days after he took great pains to be seen publicly with them. He
Right.
took them to the Army-Navy football game, which he wouldn't have done if he were casting them aside.
Right.
So I think what I'm hearing, and I think you guys are probably hearing too, is from some of these Republicans is to Donald Trump and his team, look, there are conservatives, there are Republicans, there are people who will be loyal to you who are not Pete Hegseth, who are
Right.
not Tulsi Gabbard, who are not Matt Gaetz, is what they made very clear to him. And so I think they're trying to massage Trump a little bit. They're trying to finesse this and say, we hear you, we understand, we're going to give these guys a fair hearing, we're going to give them interviews, but we have some other ideas of people who could be in those jobs. So I'm curious, Tim, Congressman, you served with a lot of these people. The big question that hangs over all of these choices and really the next 4 years is how far can Donald Trump push these members? How far can he push them to say, you're going to do what I say or else? Do you think they're willing to cross him on Pete Hegseth, on Tulsi Gabbard, maybe even on RFK Jr.?
I mean, the good part is we're starting to see the system actually play out. We said, well, there's not going to be any guardrails. Well, I mean, there kind of still is. And to Joe's point, it's like these guys aren't up for the job. You can get somebody else. We'll be nice. We'll do it politely and quietly, and then we'll give you everything else that you want. So I think that's how it's going to play out. But you think about Pete. I mean, the Pentagon would swallow him up in 1 week.
That's what I was saying. Like you just push aside all the other horrific lapses of judgment. You look at his lack of an experience, and I've said it time and time again. You know, that's a job. I'm sure you and I think we can do most jobs. Right?
I don't want that job.
I don't want that job.
No,
I don't want that job. I remember Chris Lake called me up and he said, hey, I may be able to take the CNN job. I go, let me tell you, there are two jobs you don't want. I said this. There are two jobs in America you don't want. The CNN job because of the bureaucracy and the Pentagon. Don't touch those two. And I said that like 3 years ago. But the Pentagon's even harder. The bureaucracy will swallow you up whole unless you really have been walking those corridors for years. I mean, I was on the Services Committee, for 4 terms.
And even if.
And even then, it was like...
I mean, the weapon systems, the training, the tanks, the guns, the bullets, the satellites, the bureaucrats, the cybersecurity. I mean, like...
The housing, the benefits.
Yeah.
It would swallow anybody. He's not up to the task.
No.
If you want to reform the Pentagon, you're exactly right. You better get somebody that knows the Pentagon.
Yeah, 100%.
So the New York Times has new reporting on the man who has been escorting Pete Hegseth around Capitol Hill this month. According to the paper, John Hazenbein is a former Army Special Forces Master Sergeant who left the military after attacking a civilian during a training exercise back in 2019. So this is the guy who's escorting Hegseth around Capitol Hill now. Witnesses
to the
said,
senator's offices.
Right.
The senator's office.
Witnesses said he beat the civilian role player who is a former member of Iraq's Army elite counterterrorism service, kicking him, punching him, and leaving him hogtied in a pool of his own blood. Among other injuries, the civilian was left with a broken nose, a broken tooth, a sprained shoulder, a scalp hematoma, and blunt facial trauma, according to memos and statements by company employees about the episode. The Army charged Hazenbein with aggravated assault and reckless endangerment. A military jury found him guilty of the assault charge in a court-martial in 2020, according to Army records. But the judge overseeing the case declared a mistrial after learning that a friend of Hazenbein had been talking to a juror throughout the trial, court records show. The Army did not retry the case. In a statement to the Times, Hazenbein said, I have no conviction and was honorably retired after 22 years of service. That's all you need to know.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he was given the choice of being retried or leaving. And I think that's how it happened. But, it's beyond, beyond telling Jonathan O'Meara when his nomination is already on life support that he brings a guy like this that has been charged with this by the United States military. Right? That's the thing. The United States military of beating the hell out of someone in a military exercise and being charged for it. I mean, a guy who's a U.S. citizen now being charged for it, and he has no better judgment than that. This is who he is. This is who he has been. He went time and time again to Donald Trump, didn't he, and tried to get people that were charged in the military for abusive behavior, and he became champions of abusers.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important context here. That's how he got on Donald Trump's radar to begin with, is that he would defend members of the military who were accused of misconduct, some of them in matters of abuse or worse, and that he was able to successfully get some of them, clemency from the President of the United States. The Hegseth camp is saying that this is a sign of loyalty, that he's sticking with his guys, no matter what the accusation was, then this is what he's going to bring to the Pentagon, defend those who serve the country and stand up for those
there are a lot of
inside the
people.
building.
There are a lot of people who serve the country who in military exercises, and I know because on the Armed Services Committee, I get to see a lot of the military exercises. They don't kick the hell out of somebody. They don't kick them in the ribs. They don't hog tie them. They don't chip their tooth. They don't leave them in a pool of blood. There are a lot of people, a lot of honorable men and women that serve in the military that could have been escorting him around like that. But it's almost like he's constantly got to prove a point.
Yeah, every bit of that is right. He had other options. This is a deliberate choice, a signal that he's sending, in part because I am told he thinks Donald Trump respects that. The idea of doubling down, fighting, don't give an inch. We will see if that plays out in the politics, though, of his confirmation choice, because we already know there are a number of senators who've expressed reservations, public and private, about Hegseth's conduct, about his judgment. This is a matter of judgment here. And we also, reporting shows, including folks that I talked to yesterday, that though Trump is still supporting this pick, he took him to the Army-Navy game, as you noted, but he hasn't gone fully to bat for him yet. He has not personally said, Hegseth's my guy. He hasn't called those senators. He's posted on Truth Social, but hasn't called.
They think more things are coming out.
Morning Joe Weekend. We'll be right back.
I am a collage artist,
graphic designer,
illustrator.
I am an artist, a printmaker.
It's a long list.
The work that's on Minted is incredibly diverse.
The beauty of it is that no print is going to be the same.
There is pleasure in being able to share that with someone.
That's sort of the feeling that I want to capture, the heirloom quality, something that has a story on its own.
That's what makes Minted sing. It's individual artists all in one place.
When you need brutal honesty, when you need answers first thing in the morning, you need your Morning Joe. Weekdays at 6, only on MSNBC.
to Morning Joe Weekend. Let's pick up with the conversation we were having just before the break.
All these senators are saying, why do I have to say anything when gravity's going to do all my work for me?
Right.
That's what they're thinking. So when you hear them going, oh, hey, let's let the process play out. Let's see what
How could
happens.
there be more?
We're just going to wait. We'll process, play out means, yeah, we're going to just sit there and watch him and watch the gravity pull him through with weight of more things coming out.
So, Jackie, you obviously cover these members every single day. What's your sense of how or how not this has evolved? There was great skepticism a couple of weeks ago around Pete Hegseth. It seemed like he was doomed. It's a little bit of a tone shift, at least, from someone like Senator Ernst last week, but not a full endorsement by any stretch of the imagination. What's your sense of where things are now with his nomination, potential nomination, and where they're headed?
I think this wait and see posture, wait until there's more FBI background checks, wait until we get closer to the process and keep quiet until then is the strategy that most senators are currently employing, doing everything behind closed doors after seeing Joni Ernst take a radically different approach that staffers and members that we've spoken to were really critical of, who said she sort of overshot her own power and influence by going out on Fox News, getting ahead of herself, saying that she was not ready to support Hegseth in a pretty public way, having sort of triggering this public criticism and full court press on her from MAGA world, and then 4 days later backtracking on it in a way that sort of damages her credibility and also her standing in Trump world. You're seeing the rest of these senators now learning a very different lesson from her actions. But we have seen a slight win for some Republican senators. Tom Fox successfully was one of the people who lobbied Trump to step down from considering Amaryllis Fox Kennedy, who was being proposed to be the CIA #2, the deputy to John Ratcliffe, after some private conversations and